I have come to the conclusion that Geese's theme is the best, like, fighting game boss theme ever. And I can't think of one that compares to it. So, we have a lot to talk about today. And a ton of it is comic book oriented. So we have our comic book shirts. I threw on my leather jacket because people seem to like it. And on top of that, yeah, Daredevil. We'll just put it that way. So let's get started. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
And welcome to Micah and The Hatman. All right. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's
Hatman,
roll.
you have the first pick of the week. Now let's say this before people ask. Hatman has been watching Daredevil season 3.
Yes, I'm about halfway through it right now. But to get myself ready for it, I decided to read Born Again. Again. I've only ever read it once prior to this, and that was when I had the complete set, each individual comic, but I gave those to a friend for his birthday, and he's a huge Daredevil fan, so kind of don't have those anymore. So anyway, read it again, and damn, this is still a good story. Probably one of, if not the best example I can think of maybe Nightfall being comparable, at least, of taking a hero and bringing him down to his lowest possible level and having him pretty much scrape back up from the ashes. I love it.
Tell me you have more to say than that.
You're very quiet. I thought this was going to be something of a discussion here.
Well, it's in my opinion, it's the best Daredevil story
ever.
Oh,
absolutely, it's the best Daredevil story.
I mean, and I don't really know if there is a better Daredevil writer than Frank Miller.
No, Frank Miller really, and again, it's probably because he does street level so well. Daredevil is a perfect fit for him.
Oh yeah.
And isn't the story behind it like the comic was like on the verge of being canceled, and they brought Frank Miller in, and that's how they got Born Again?
Yeah, pretty much. They were for better or worse. You know, they really needed a curveball when it came to Daredevil as a character. That he really wasn't, you know, moving the needle. You know, he wasn't really in a position where, as a character, he was really being taken that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they came to him, he basically said, "I'm going to turn this character on its head, and I'm going to change the dynamic." Hatman, why don't you didn't really give a synopsis there. You know, give an idea of, because this story is over 20 years old. You might as well tell people what happens.
Yeah. So basically, it starts out like Karen Page has totally fallen off the fucking wagon. She has become a porn star and a heroin addict, and she literally sells Daredevil's identity as Matt Murdock for a shot of heroin. And that information makes it all the way up to the Kingpin, who is, of course, you know, trying to make Daredevil pay. So Kingpin uses his influence to basically freeze out all of Matt Murdock's assets. Like, IRS is investigating him and everything. Almost pretty much, you know, not even gets him evicted. There's like an eviction notice, and then his like apartment blows up.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he's homeless. His girlfriend breaks up with him and then gets together with Foggy Nelson. Like, pretty much everything that you can think of. He's disbarred even because he's paid off a cop to say like, oh, he was bribing witnesses and stuff. So then Matt goes to trial and avoids prison time, all by the Kingpin's plan, but he gets disbarred. So He is literally like a bum on the street for the majority of the comic.
Losing his sanity, mind you, as well.
Yeah, he's got nothing. He attacks a cop. He straight up attacks a cop. And Kingpin is sort of in between, like, whether or not he wants to kill him or like just let him suffer more. There's one bit where he talks about like offering him a job just to really, really stick it to him. And Matt actually like confronts the Kingpin. He figures out Kingpin is behind this, so he goes and confronts him and gets his ass handed to him.
Oh yeah.
And then Kingpin's like, all right, I'm gonna just ice you anyway. So throws him in a taxi and right off the pier. And talk about a baptism, because Daredevil comes out of that. Like that next issue, there was no corpse.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now you know shit's getting real.
There's a lot of religious symbolism in this.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I mean, it's called Born Again, so it's kind of duh.
Naturally. Well, in all the comic issues, like they're named after religious things, like Apocalypse, Armageddon, Born Again, of course. It's all symbolic. And then you got Nuke thrown in there too.
Yeah. And
Nuke is hired by the Kingpin to basically like fuck everything up. And along the way, you've got like a random. I think he was a random dude that was dressed as Daredevil. They got what's his name to make another Daredevil costume.
And Melvin Potter.
Yeah, Melvin. They got Melvin to make another Daredevil costume and gave it to someone to impersonate him to try and ruin his reputation as Daredevil, because that was pretty much all Matt had, aside from, you know, wandering around like a homeless dude. And he couldn't even be Daredevil after that.
Yeah.
So no, it's literally taking a hero and like just crushing everything. Like think of what Bane does to Bruce Wayne in The Dark Knight Rises. That's basically what it is. He's at his lowest point here. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's at his lowest point.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, and I don't want Chuck, if you're watching, I'm not saying anything negative about you, my friend, but you'll see a lot. There's a lot of parallels between Nightfall that Chuck wrote and then Frank Miller's Daredevil Born Again. Mm-hmm. A lot of parallels in just the idea of a fall. The difference is with Matt, it's a lot more psychological than physical.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously a lot of beatings that happen in the book, but you know, it's the fact that Matt is mentally not there for a large portion of it, and then there's the Nuke part, and then Cap comes in.
Yeah, Cap, and then there's that reaction to like someone said in the chat, that reaction to Nuke having the American flag painted on his face.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaking thing for Cap.
Yeah, the writing is also really solid too, because you
it's
get
Frank Miller.
Yeah, but you get like everyone's perspective, like all the major players, you get all their perspectives, and yeah, it's a lot of text boxes, of course, but
but
it's
still
like
Frank Miller is amazing when it comes to perspective of different characters in a story. Like if people talk about George R.R. Martin being really good at it, it's like Frank Miller was good at it before Martin was.
Yeah. I mean, you've got like, you know, one page is all of Matt Murdock's monologues, like how he's reacting to all of this as it's going on. Like shit has not hit the fan yet, but it's coming, and he can tell. And then you've got Kingpin on the next page, and it's talking like everything he's planning on doing, and everything that he's predicting, and it's like, no, it has to go this way. It has to go perfectly, because this is a tactical strike. This is psychological warfare at its finest.
I played a long game, Mr. Castle.
And then you've also got Ben Urich in there too.
Yes,
he plays a major role, and he's also pretty instrumental in helping get Matt Murdock off his feet as well.
Yep.
In addition to Karen Page, of course, you know, she's another central figure to this. She sold out Matt Murdock. Now she's got to live with that.
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of Jonah Jameson in this one too.
Yes, that's right. JJ's is in this too, and JJ comes across as like a really good dude in this too.
Well,
Which is
Miller
kinda
really
funny.
gave J. Jonah Jameson some more layers to him.
Yes, yes, he did.
Which there's not a lot of writers who have done that for Jameson. Oddly enough, the only ones I can think of would be Frank Miller, David Michelini, and oddly enough, Dan Slott. Dan actually made him pretty sympathetic at points. So, yeah. But needless to say, though, this is the quintessential Daredevil story.
Yes.
You know, everything Frank Miller Daredevil is great. I feel really bad that we don't have Aiden here to talk about this with us. I should have thought of that. So, Aiden, I apologize. But she's the biggest Daredevil fan we know. So, but that leads us into my pick of the week. This might be a longer entertainment podcast than usual because there's a lot of layers, and I want to take time to kind of pick this apart. So, for me, my pick of the week is Daredevil Season 3. Now, I finished it in a day, and let me get the overall out of the way. It is not as good as Season 2, but only by a hair. Because you have to keep in mind, Season 2 had a lot to it, and part of that was, you know, John Bernthal's Punisher, and that first few episodes, 3 or 4 episodes, which was just so intense. Then the courtroom scenes, and of course there's the rooftop scene, which is plucked straight from Garth Ennis's Welcome Back, Frank. And in my opinion, performed to perfection by Bernthal and what's his guy who plays Daredevil.
Oh my god. Chat, you're gonna find it before we can.
Charlie Cox.
There,
And
thank you.
But you know that's not easy to follow because that was just a very intense season.
Mm-hmm.
And then led to the Punisher series, which was also season 1 of the Punisher is also really fucking good. In my opinion, Punisher and Daredevil, like the Marvel hierarchy of shows on Netflix, it's Punisher and Daredevil at the top, then everything else, really. And we'll get to that with the next topic, trust me. But in this one, it is loosely based on Born Again, though there are some parts that are ripped directly from it. Specifically the baptism.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually do quote, "There was no corpse."
Yeah, that straight from it.
So there is that. But the interesting thing about this is quite kind of like they, instead of Matt really breaking psychologically throughout the course of it, he's kind of already broken. Because you have to think of how Defenders ended. Elektra's dead. She's very dead. You know, the fact that Matt even survived is a miracle in and of itself. He basically has to, wait to heal from some really nasty wounds, which oddly enough, neti pots are great for restoring super hearing, just so you guys know. There's actually a kind of a nasty scene where he basically pukes up a blood clot. Well, not pukes it, but spits it out because what the neti pot does is it gets into your sinuses and flushes stuff out through your mouth. It's disgusting. Don't do them. I fucking hate neti pots. But
I can't. I've only ever gotten one to work once, and that was the weirdest sensation ever.
Yeah, but anyway, he starts out angsty. I won't even lie. And
it's like his injuries keep him from being able to be Daredevil.
Yes.
Like he's got to work his way back up from that.
And it's not an easy process for him. And he has thrown away the red suit. He never wears it throughout the course of the series. Mostly because it's been stolen, but or a new one's been made. And I'll get to that in a second. But he's basically seeing that Wilson Fisk has found a way out of prison, and he has come to the conclusion that he has to kill him to really stop this. And throughout the course of it, we see Wilson Fisk, for better or worse, manipulate the federal government into becoming his own personal goon squad. And he starts retaking his empire. And he is now at the point where he is officially being addressed as Kingpin. So, to address something for what the chat's saying, no, there's no Trump bashing. I think this needs to be said about Hollywood in the here and now. Every single person who puts out a statement like that feels obliged to say it about their villain, is that they're basing them off Trump. So no, there's no Trump bashing. The words fake news come up twice, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, there's also that one scene where it's like Karen Page like confronts some dudes that are like catcalling a girl with her gun.
Yeah.
It's just like out of nowhere.
The only thing it's really there to exist to do is basically to show that Karen's mentally is starting to fade a bit.
Yeah. And she's still got her gun, of course.
Which comes into play later.
Yeah.
Why was the writer bragging about there being Trump bashing in it? Because he has to keep his job, for better or worse. You guys have to understand something about Hollywood right now. You have to say that you don't like Trump to have a job. You have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Just ask any of the guys that we've interviewed on the show.
Yeah, you have no options. You have to say Trump is bad. Orange man bad. You must say it. To get work anymore. So don't pay anything like that any mind. It's not even worth acknowledging. Like thinking that it's just gonna be some Trump hate fest. It had nothing to do with him. So, point being is that there is a just this thought process of him trying to ruin Daredevil. He puts Matt in a position to where he has enough evidence to tell that he is Daredevil. So instead of it being given to him, Kingpin figures it out. And it's kind of scary how he does it. But that's the whole thing, is you really see how fucking scary Wilson Fisk is as a character in this story. And how he comes across as almost invincible to the public.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like every step that people take to try and cut him off, he's already 3 steps ahead of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It really, that's the interesting thing I think about Kingpin in this series, is it really is Frank Miller's version of Kingpin brought to life. Mm-hmm. I would have to think that the gentleman who plays him, whose name is escaping me at the moment,
Vincent D'Onofrio?
Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio must have read those comics. And yes, he does wear the white suit.
Yes, and that scene is incredible, where he finally puts on the white suit.
Yeah. Like, Vincent D'Onofrio is very scary in that role. And one thing I don't want to spoil too much about, but I will say this, is that another one of Daredevil's nemesis, whatever.
Nemesis, yes.
Yeah, Nemesis, is introduced in this. And it is probably my favorite origin of the character yet.
They take, 20 minutes or so, basically just setting up his whole backstory. And you see him before they actually go into the backstory. But then there's a scene where, if you know your comics, you know exactly who he is before they say anything.
Yeah. Like the first time you see him fight, you know who he is because of how he does it. And it's like, oh my God, he's here. And it's scary. He's a very frightening villain in this. And I want to see him go up against the Punisher now. I want him to be in the next season of the Punisher. Also, on top of that, they hint at the end of the series at Weapon X existing in the MCU. That's a good thing, Hatman. Don't give me that look.
No, that's a look of, are they going to limit it to the TV series, or are they going to actually bring that to film?
Oh, they're going to bring it to film. Like, the Fox deal's done and over with, almost. They just have to sign the papers at this point. That's probably why they felt comfortable enough to do it. So, yeah, it's happening. Break out the Ron Paul gifts. It is happening.
Please don't cancel Daredevil. I swear to God.
Oh, they won't. This season is like getting rave reviews everywhere. But like it wouldn't surprise me if like we start seeing certain X characters within the next couple of years in Daredevil, or like they tried to introduce Typhoid Mary in Iron Fist season 2, and it just didn't really wasn't very good. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and move on. Heroes for Fired. So,
oh my God, that's perfect.
That was terrible, I know, but it's kind of funny. So let me preface with this: I adore Mike Coulter as Luke Cage, and I thought that season 2 of Luke Cage was really good. I thought it was better than it's like it should. The fact it didn't get as like that Jessica Jones season 2 got more credit than it for its quality is bullshit, because Jessica Jones season 2 wasn't very good. But and I thought the first season was good up until the final episode. You know, Iron Fist not so much, and I'll get into why I think Iron Fist failed. But I adore Mike Coulter as Luke Cage. I think Finn Jones is actually a good Danny Rand. But both both Luke Cage and Iron Fist have officially been canceled. And it's kind of unfortunate. Reason being is, for those who don't, like, people are thinking that only Iron Fist, like, got the can. It was announced last night that Luke Cage got canceled.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, though, I think that these are like the first cancellations of an MCU property.
Not counting Inhumans.
Not counting Inhumans. Like, these are the first Netflix ones that have been canceled. So there's been 3 Marvel, you could call them failures at this point. And I think that we should let's be honest about something. So let's talk about Iron Fist first, and then I'll talk about my theories on Luke Cage. So I tried to watch through the second season of Iron Fist, and the problem with it is it's trying to be Daredevil. And the thing about Iron Fist, I don't know if anybody has ever read Iron Fist. Oddly enough, Christopher Priest wrote that book when he first started, and he ended up killing off the character. But if you've ever read Iron Fist, it is basically, a kung fu show come to life. And the first season of Iron Fist did not feel like a kung fu show. It felt like basically a prelude to Defenders as opposed to being its own thing. And that was a problem. Because here's kind of my issue with Danny Rand being associated with the Hand. The Hand are ninjas. Danny Rand is a master of Chinese kung fu. The two don't mix well. At all. And trying to shoehorn the Hand into being something associated with Kunlun should have been something that was in the shadows of that first season of Iron Fist, not something that dominated the plot. Another problem with Iron Fist is that it never really took any inspiration from Iron Fist comics, and you never really saw Danny as Iron Fist. You saw him as Danny Rand, as dude with tattoo on chest, who was a really good hand-to-hand combat fighter. And it didn't fit. He should have been wearing the mask. He should have had some semblance of his outfit. He should not have been in a constant hoodie and bummish looking clothes. He should have honestly been what he is in the comics from the start.
Did he ever wear the mask at all?
Only for a certain part of Iron Fist Season 2 in a flashback.
That's depressing.
Yes, because here's the thing. The Iron Fist costume is fucking iconic among martial arts oriented characters in Marvel.
Oh yeah, and it looks badass too. Like just straight up, it looks badass.
He has no armor at all. He doesn't need it. He's that fucking good. Because here's the thing, for those who don't know, in Marvel Comics, the hierarchy of hand-to-hand is Cap, Danny Rand, and then Shang-Chi. That's how good Danny is. And then underneath both of them is Daredevil, and then probably either the Black Widow or oh god, just straight hand-to-hand skills. Probably Wolverine. So the he never felt that good, and that is a problem to me. Is you've got this guy, he never felt as intimidating in combat as Daredevil does. Like when Daredevil gets in a fucking fist fight, it's a fight, and you feel the impacts, and it feels fucking crazy. You know, with Danny, it didn't really feel like that. I was hoping for some fucking like him to pull off some shit like, you remember the scene in Kill Bill with guy with the white beard, what's his name? Her master. Not Bill.
It's been a long time since I've seen Kill Bill.
Oh my god, what was his name?
Chat, it's up to you.
Because he was like a legendary character in kung fu movies that he basically resurrected. That Quentin Tarantino resurrected. God, I love Kill Bill Part 2. Oh god, what is his name? It's not Feng Wei. That's a character from Dynasty Warriors. Pai Mei! That's it. I wanted some fucking Pai Mei shit from Danny, and we never got it, and it made no sense. Because that's what he should have been doing, is Pai Mei shit. Like old soul, like Brian Martinez and I were talking about this when we were talking about Inglewood. Like some old, like, fucking Shaw Brothers stuff. You know, which I'm oddly enough going to try to work into Inglewood at some point. Just some just straight up old school kung fu, Wu-Tang is for the children sort of shit. Like, that's what I want to see in an Iron Fist story. And it just never materializes, and it never really feels that impactful. And that's kind of what's unfortunate about it. It's like they never watched a kung fu movie before making the show.
It almost seems like the outrage over Iron Fist being a white dude kind of permeated the production of that.
Yeah, yeah, it's just
like why would you take a kung fu character, take out those elements, and then say it's the same thing because racism?
Well, it's not, you know, it's like not even they were just like ashamed for it to be anything like a kung fu story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what didn't make sense. Like, they were trying to make it The Wire in a lot of ways, kind of like how Daredevil is like The Wire of Marvel stories. But you can't make Iron Fist into The Wire. It's not a typical street level story, you know, not unless he's working with Luke. And that's kind of the problem, you know. It's like you need that sort of Shaw Brothers stuff, or even like fucking Game of Death, Bruce Lee. Like, you have him doing that sort of crazy stuff where he just hits a stance and like scratches his nose with his thumb. Whenever I'm working in the heavy bag, I love doing that, by the way. Just sort of, you feel cool because Bruce Lee's the shit. But like, there was nothing like that. He didn't really have that sort of, you know, kung fu, constant fluidity feel to his fighting style. He kind of felt stiff and rigid, and the whole story felt stiff and rigid. Like there was an expectation for a Netflix series that they felt they needed to adhere to, as opposed to telling an Iron Fist kung fu story. And that, I think, is why it fails. And it just, that's what's unfortunate about that. And that's why I think it fucked up. Luke Cage, on the other hand, is an interesting one because it should have been super successful. you know, it aims for African Americans. It aims for like it has all the demographic book like marks checked. You know, young African Americans, check. Hip hop lovers, check. People who like gangster stories, check. People like who like really buff black dudes as your protagonists, double fucking check. You know, and on top of that, the acting was good in it. The villains were really good. But they never really, in that first season, it just never really had the impact that they were looking for, and it just didn't end well either. Like once Cottonmouth dies, it kind of turns downhill. And that was sort of the thing about it is, and that's the weird thing about it is, like, it felt like it was like a blaxploitation story, but told well. Like, it wasn't trying. It had the blaxploitation like vibe of kind of that sort of funk, urban feel, but told seriously. And of course, Mike Coulter, of course, is the perfect guy to play Luke Cage. Like, let's not even like he looks like Luke jumped off the fucking comic book page and into real life. But word of mouth, I think, is what hurt Luke Cage, because once season 2 came around, there was no hype. There was no hype for it at all. Nobody was really looking forward to it, because the first season didn't end well, and they're like, it's probably not going to live up to it. And oddly enough, that second season was fucking great. It was awesome. It was action-packed. It was well-written. Bushmaster was a great villain who had a lot of layers to him. And you could, you really could identify with that character and why he hated the Stokes family as much as he did. Like, he wouldn't even allow you to call Mariah Dillard around him. He would just look at you dead in the eye with this glare of, I'm going to fucking kill you, and goes, Mariah Stokes, in that Jamaican accent of his. Not to mention the levity was it was just a really well-written and well-produced season. The fights were great. Like, it was fantastic. But just because the first season ended so poorly, it never was able to rebound. And that, I think, is kind of what's really unfortunate about it. Is, we never really got to see that show hit its potential, because the end of Luke Cage season 2 was chilling. And I was honestly hoping that it was going to lead into a confrontation between Luke and the Kingpin at some point. I thought that would be a really interesting clash of worlds, because Mariah Stokes, one of the people that she brought up, is Fisk's lawyer. So, I was kind of hoping that we would get things like that. And I thought it would have fit really well, but it's kind of obvious that it just never really made it. And it's unfortunate. That's what really sucks about this, is that Iron Fist never really got off the ground, despite the fact that Finn Jones is a good pick for the character. And Luke Cage suffered from just being unable to rebound from a small piece of mediocrity. And I think it's unfortunate. I would like to see them. It wouldn't surprise me if they try to do like a Heroes for Hire miniseries.
I'd love to see that.
Because the chemistry between these two guys is really good. But... And oddly enough, they could do Daughters of the Dragon, too, with Colleen and Misty. Oh, whoa! Money! What the... Thank you.
Money happened.
Foxhelm, thank you. Let's see what he says with that. Also, I don't remember if it was Foxhelm or someone else, but requested that we review Y the Last Man Book 1. We're going to be recording a video of that right after this.
Yep.
So
I finished the whole series. That was going to be my thing for this week, but then we decided, no, let's just do a joint review of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll do it just one piece at a time. So let me just see what our good friend Foxhelm says here. Get yourself some rum and Pepsi. It's funny you say that. I broke the 340 mark today. I weighed in at 339 this morning. So
You got yourself some rum and Pepsi.
Yeah, so I'm celebrating, which of course means I'm going to gain a couple pounds back. But what it basically just means for me is it's a mental thing of telling me I can get thinner, I can keep going. So, but thank you, Foxhelm. We really appreciate it, because that actually helps with life stuff for me at this point. Like these last couple months have been kind of difficult. We're almost out of the woods though, so that's the good thing. Once my taxes come in January, I'll be able to pay off some like big debts and like finally really improve my. Foxhelm also requested My Little Pony the movie and the '80s movie too, so we'll be doing that. Well, I'll be doing that. Hatman does not have to. I'm not gonna make him suffer through it. But
God.
And I think that it's Hardboiled Entertainment wants me to have a look at wants to pay me to look at Superman or Batman v Superman the Extended Edition. So his last one I did was Man of Steel. Anyway, so needless to say though, it's unfortunate to see, but again, mistakes were made. That's really kind of the long and short of it. Let's move on. This will be a short one. Hatman didn't know anything about this. Did you even know this movie existed, Hatman?
Oh, I did, yes.
Okay.
I saw, ironically enough, a trailer to it was attached to Predator when I saw it.
Really?
Yes.
Very appropriate. So, for those who don't know, Kermit Gosnell is the worst serial killer in American history. But people try to bury him because he was an abortionist. So, a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was, there was a crowdfunding campaign to create this film called Gosnell, The Trial of America's Biggest Serial Killer. The script writer for this film is none other than Andrew Klavan. And, of course, it stars Dean Cain, Sarah Jane Morris, and Nick Searcy. Nick Searcy also directs it. Some of you might know Nick Searcy from the show Justified on FX. Pretty talented dude, too. So, very eccentric, but then again, most actors are. Needless to say, though, this movie is getting pulled from a lot of theaters after its first week, despite having reasonably good showings for being only in sort of a select theater sort of thing. And I think that I know why it's happening. For the same reason the media tried to bury the story of Kermit Gosnell. Abortionists are not allowed to be bad people in the media these days, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, the dude clearly broke the law. I mean,
he was clearly a psycho.
Well, how many life sentences did he end up getting?
Several. And what's crazy about it is like this is a guy who kept jars of the feet of aborted fetuses.
Yeah, that's not something that normal people do. Clearly,
like I constantly tell people, it's like, you know, we like to we who are writers, we try to create new worlds because the current ones are kind of boring. Kermit Gosnell was the type of human being that you think the writer of the Hannibal Lecter trilogy would have came up with. He didn't seem like a real person. That was how scary this guy is. True psychopath.
Yeah.
Like, frighteningly so.
Yeah, like seriously, go read his Wikipedia page.
And bring a barf bucket.
Yeah, it's sincerely fucked up.
Yeah. Dr. Doom would look at this guy and go, fuck this dude. Fuck him. But because this guy, like, is what's scary about him is he was like a real life supervillain.
Yeah.
It's scary. It really is frightening. But regardless, I really think that a big part of why this is that. And I think really there wasn't a lot to say on this one. I just want to bring this to people's attention. Is if you would be interested in hearing a story about this and about the media trying to bury it, and oddly enough, a film where Dean Cain really shows how good of an actor he is, see if you can find this movie. I will be picking it up once it's released on digital because it's not being shown anywhere near me. So,
yeah, I haven't seen any showings around here. I mean, granted, like when I saw the preview at first, I was like, this this doesn't have like any sort of hallmarks of like the usual like religious films that I've seen, because that's what immediately it came across as.
Yeah, people tried to say that it's like a faith-based film. No.
Yeah, no. It's weird. Like, I can't help but think it's clearly like a pro-life film.
Well, that's obvious.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you're supposed to give it a fair shake, damn it. Like, you don't just write it off because of the political message.
Yeah.
If that were the case, well, then again, people did try to write off American Sniper.
Yeah. And Juno, oddly enough.
Yeah.
For not portraying abortion in a positive light.
Yeah, that's
Which
right.
is going to be interesting about this, is when people are trying to bury this story, it's going to be like, look, the same people who think that Gosnell is terrible because it doesn't look at, or look at abortion properly, in their opinion, they were bashing Juno for it not talking about abortion or treating it as something serious or something that you should consider.
Mm-hmm.
It's sickening how and I don't want to get into the politics here. We'll talk about this another time, but to end on this, it's like I am absolutely sickened by the simple fact that abortion is enshrined by some people. And this is just evidence of it. All right, let's move on to our final topic of the day. We'll take about 5 minutes on this one, too. So, video games, part of the reason that I am happy I'm not a games journalist anymore is because the video game industry has a problem with non-traversies. They make things controversial that fucking aren't. One of those is that it was reported this week that Rockstar Studios has been working extra hours to bring Red Dead Redemption 2 to completion. And the original response, or the original articles, were saying people were working upwards of 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
First off, that doesn't make any fucking sense. That would mean 14-hour days every single day. No, that doesn't exist. I'm sorry. No, that's.
Go and read some of the other articles about crunch periods, and like the worst that you see usually is like 70 to 80 hours a week.
Yeah, which basically means you're working about 12 hours every day.
Yeah, and
that really, being as somebody who has worked those kind of hours, it's not easy to do, but it's doable.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's doable. It's a pain in the ass, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Well, yeah, the writer clarified it was the writers doing that. Then the writers got on Twitter and said, no, we're working about 50 hours a week, and we're being compensated for overtime.
Mm-hmm.
50 hours a week is not much.
Yep.
It is either working, it's basically working 10-hour days instead of 8-hour days. And being somebody who has done that, you don't notice it. You really don't. Because those were basically 2 hours you would spend at home fucking around.
Or in my case, the commute.
Yeah. I am a guy who works a lot. If you think about it. Between my main job, which I do 40 hours a week, and then writing stuff or doing video stuff, which is like another couple hours a day, 50 hours a week is my normal week. And Monkey Lint makes a good point in the chat. This, to a military veteran, that's nothing. So, but here's the thing. This is not controversial. To most people who have a career, you're expected every once in a while to work a 50-hour week.
Yeah.
Or more.
My job right now, mandatory overtime. Because we're in crunch. We got a end of the month deadline.
Hold on a second. We got dropped.
Oh.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, we're back. So anyway, no, my job where I work, mandatory overtime because we're at a crunch too. We got end of month deadlines to hit. So yeah, I don't have a choice. Sometimes I got to leave hour and a half, 2 hours after I normally would. Sometimes I got to work on weekends. That's just how it is. You work until the job's done.
Yeah, it's one of those things where a lot of people don't really understand that this is part of what's expected of you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think what gets me the most of all this is how someone pointed out in the chat, very appropriately, they tried this with CD Projekt Red too. They know that crunch is a thing in the industry, and now you've got some articles haven't really taken off yet, but now I'm kind of wondering if they're going to start pushing them again, talking about the need for unionization in the video game industry,
which really isn't needed.
No,
like let me put it this way. So I have watched several documentaries on video game development and crunch. Mm-hmm. And for AAA companies, they are oftentimes not only compensating people for the overtime, but on top of that, they are doing everything in their power to make sure that the office experience feels as little like work as possible.
Unless you're Konami.
Well, yeah. But here's the thing, is that those horror stories get a lot of clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And people know that. But at the end of the day, this discussion always comes up. It's always the same things that get repeated over and over again. Yes, if you're working extra hours, you should be compensated for overtime. Yes, it can be bad for your mental health to work too much. Yeah, blah 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 blah. We've known that for a long time. At this point, if you're still complaining, if they come and say, "No, we're only working 50 hours a week," you are an anti-work fucking simpleton. But what should I expect from a bunch of dumbass socialists? Because the idea that Jim Sterling works hard. One look at his gut, you can tell that boy don't know nothing about hard work.
He's fat, even.
He's fat. And you look at someone like a Ben Kuchera or someone along those lines, like, you motherfuckers don't know anything about work. Some of you haven't worked since your very first job at a fucking burger joint. You're useless. You talk about video games for a living. You're about as privileged as it gets. Whoa! More money. Foxhelm, what the... Hatman, that I have to send you that money.
Oh?
You've been challenged.
I've been challenged.
My Little Pony, Equestria Girls, Rainbow Rocks, and Friendship
Oh,
Game.
no! No! Why would you? No! Really? Really? Who found out about that? Who found out about that? I think I've said one time ever that I could not stand anything about the Equestria Girls thing. Like, the look of it just terrifies me. Who in the fuck dug that up?
I don't know, but it now must happen.
How dare you? How absolute dare you? Needless to say, $20 is 20. Is it $20?
Well, he gave 40.
$20 is $20.
All right.
I kind of wish that glass was filled with vodka now.
All right, and just for people who are watching this and you're not having lag issues, the chat's going to be about a couple minutes behind because of it. It's all right. The reason that we're not stopping and restarting the stream is because it really fucked up. And I don't want to spend all night having to fucking edit this shit together. So it'll normalize at some point. I think it's an OBS problem. And it seems like we're normalizing now. So I think that's really all I have to say about that, though. Let's go ahead and go into the Q&A for entertainment.
Fair enough.
So we actually had 2 questions on Twitter about the whole Sargon and what's his name? Arch Warhammer doing a video about Starship Troopers. So if you're wondering our opinions on that, we have not watched it.
Nope.
But the idea that the world of Starship Troopers, like their government, is a liberal meritocracy is wrong. That was a fascist government.
Very, very yes.
Like, think about this for a second. Average citizens were not citizens until they served in the military.
Yeah. Service guarantees citizenship.
That's not democratic. That's not liberal. There's nothing liberal about that. There's a meritocratic element to it, but it's pretty, like, if you read Starship Troopers, it's pretty obvious it was a fascist government. Because in Gears of War did the same thing. Like, it basically took it. So but yeah. That no, I don't agree with that. I still haven't watched it, but I don't agree with what I'm hearing. We'll just put it that way. But we could be playing a game of telephone right now. So, for all I know. But that's our response to that. Talon Silverbrain wants to know, is the new Soul Calibur game looking good? But my question is, should I get it for PC or PS4, and do I plan on getting it? I do plan on getting it. If you want to play it online a lot, PS4 is going to be your best bet, because consoles tend to have longer lasting communities when it comes to multiplayer than PC does, because PC people tend to just move on to whatever the next big game is. I plan on getting it for the PC just because well, actually, no, I would probably end up getting it for the PS4 myself, because I have a PS4 Pro, so I might as well. And on top of that, I'm really looking forward to playing there's a create a character story mode in this, and I'm gonna make Guts and listen to fucking the Beast in Black album on loop and fuck everything up. Because give it! So.
Twitter question. Did we know Ryu from Street Fighter is officially a Power Ranger?
I did not know that, and I saw that photo, and the costume design, oddly enough, looks really cool.
That is pretty cool.
All right,
thoughts on Rob Zombie's Halloween?
I've never seen it, actually.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Wow. Okay, so I haven't seen the sequel, but the first one is actually pretty good.
Is it? Okay, I'll have to watch it at some point.
Imagine if well, I can't even, because it's different. Like, I want to say compare it to Devil's Rejects, but it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't compare him to the Firefly family, but it's very, very much centralized on Michael Myers. Like, he doesn't become an adult until like way later into the movie. But it's like his psyche. It is very much a Michael Myers centric movie.
That's interesting.
And I like that. You know, Rob Zombie did really, really fucking well with it too. It's brutal, of course, because
it's Rob Zombie. I fucking love Rob Zombie. Thunder Kiss 65 is one of my favorite songs to play on bass. So I
believe they're making a sequel to Devil's Rejects too.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
It does. Okay, so Bill Moseley. I met Bill Moseley once, and he said the one thing everyone asked him is, "Why don't you make a sequel to Devil's Rejects?" And like every time he's asked that, he always responds the same way, and all the other cast members respond the same way: because we're fucking dead.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I don't get it.
I would think like a House of a Thousand Corpses prequel would make a lot more sense.
That would. It really would, I think.
So
Captain Spaulding solo film.
Yes! I'd watch that, man.
I'd watch the hell out of that.
Fucking right, dude.
Even if it was nothing but a bunch of commercials, I'd watch it. I don't care.
Captain Spaulding clown propaganda film.
Fried chicken and gasoline.
Oh, God. All right. There were some other good ones that I'd seen in there. Oh, here's one I want to answer. Besides Venom, what are the characters, comics or otherwise, but I want to write for? Well, the big thing for me is I've always wanted to write Star Wars. That's one thing. Other characters I would love to write. I would want to write characters that would be a challenge, not just characters that I enjoy. One that would be both would be Swamp Thing. I don't know how well my style. I don't know, Hatman. You've read so much of my stuff at this point. You could probably say what my style would be better suited for. Actually, let's just do that. I'll list a couple things off, since you would inevitably be the one editing it. I'll list some other books off that I would like to write, and you can tell the audience what books you think exist that I would be suited for. So other ones like Black Panther's a big one for me. I would love to write Black Panther.
Yes, I could see the politics of Wakanda really coming through that too.
Yeah, that's what I would mostly focus on is the tribal politics.
Yeah,
and how it affects that country and how it would force T'Challa to make difficult decisions.
Yeah.
The way I would I did a video called "How I Would Write Black Panther" not too long ago, and it was basically like T'Challa plays Mass Effect in a lot of senses. But
what can you tell me about the Reapers?
Yeah. I'm King T'Challa, and this is my favorite shop in Wakanda. But I would love to write him. I would write, of all the team books that exist out there, the one that I would probably want to write most would be Fantastic Four.
That would be really interesting, I think.
Do you think my style would work well with it, or what are you thinking right out of the gate?
I think it would be focused on Ben Grimm a lot. I don't know if you'd be able to.
Am I that transparent?
I don't know if you'd be able to. That's the thing. I don't know if you'd be able to capture Reed Richards as well.
He would be hard for me. I will admit that.
Johnny Storm and Sue Richards, you could probably get by with them, but Reed is very different from the stuff that I've read of yours.
Well,
but Ben Grimm is right up your fucking alley.
Oh yeah, I would write a Thing miniseries, and I fucking love Ben Grimm, man. And Petunia's blue-eyed nephew ain't lost a hammer yet. So that was one of the few characters, if I ever got the chance to play in a film, that's who I would. I'm obviously built like him. But he'd be the main one, man.
Ben Grimm over Kingpin, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm a blue-eyed giant. I mean, it kind of fits. But another one that I would really like to write, obviously, would be Spider-Man. He is probably the one thing that bums me out is I will never get to write Amazing Spider-Man, no matter how good my comics will be. That'll never happen. But
that would be very. I think you would go back to the human level of Peter Parker with that.
I'd be very JMS-esque, I would think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because there are elements of what JMS did that I would love to bring back. I'd love to bring back the Totem stuff. I loved Morlun as a villain. I liked Morlun quite a bit. I know that the whole purpose basically for Morlun was to become the next Venom, but I still liked the dynamic that he brought. But yeah, Spider-Man would definitely be one of them that I would really want. That would probably be the ultimate for me. And then one that would just be fun to do, and I don't know if I would be good at it, would be Justice League. Because I would not...
Who's on the team?
You gotta have the big three.
Of course, you have to have the big three.
My Green Lantern pick would probably be Jon Stewart.
Okay.
And then rotate him out with Guy Gardner. I would not bring in Hal or Kyle.
Okay.
Because they're too easy for me.
Rotate him out midway through, or just...
Probably, something like that. My whole thing with Hal and Kyle is they would be too easy for me to write.
Right. Because,
I get the artistic mindset. I'm the son of a military man. I get the military mindset too easily.
Right.
Jon Stewart's a little bit different because he's an architect. Mm-hmm. He's his method of thinking is very, very, he's born leader. And oddly enough, I would kind of have him more or less the second in command during any storylines.
Who would you have as the lead though?
Probably Batman.
Okay. So Superman would be more of a background character.
More or less, he would sort of be like the moral support, or the moral backbone.
Okay, so it would be more of a Clark Kent as opposed to a Superman then.
Oh yeah, I would write a very, very human Superman.
That's very interesting.
You got to keep in mind, I love John Byrne. John Byrne Superman. So that would be sort of my my big thing with that. Who else would I have on there? Booster Gold.
Ooh, good pick. Good pick.
That'd be another one that I would bring in. Who else would I think would be interesting to have in there?
Did you bring in
the big thing is I'm trying. Oh yeah, I'd bring in Aquaman. One thing I'm trying to avoid is bringing in anyone from the JSA. Because like I'd love to write Power Girl. Oddly enough. Whoa! Hardboiled Entertainment gave me $30. What was that for? But who else would be a good one to bring into the league? Hawkman or Hawkgirl, I would really want to bring in.
Oh, which one, Hawkman or Hawkgirl?
Hawkgirl gives my artist an excuse to draw booty all fucking day. Because it seems like every Hawkgirl, including Shiera, like post-crisis has been drawn with like a 24-inch waist and like 40-inch hips. And it's like, damn. So, but yeah,
he says you know what it's for, so what's the money for?
It is for Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. So, I will definitely watch that sometime this week. And then, so how many are we up to at this point? Because I want to have at least 8 to 10.
You have big three, a Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Aquaman. So you're at 7.
Booster Gold.
Oh, that's right, Booster Gold. So yeah, you're at 8.
I'd want another street leveler. And oddly enough, there might be a point in the book where I would actually move Batman out and move Nightwing in.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
But I want another street leveler.
At least make Hawkgirl a redhead. I acknowledge no Hawkgirl, but a redheaded Hawkgirl.
Yeah. Shiera was a fox on that show back in the day, man. I would throw in something very, very, very different. Deathstroke.
Deathstroke?
In the Justice League.
In the damn Justice League.
Hired by Batman on retainer to keep him off the streets because his last contract was to kill Damian.
Oh.
Keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer.
Oh.
He also would use Slade as a tactician.
That would be... that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
That would basically be like... I'm seeing that as like bringing Namor into the Avengers. That whole arc.
Yeah, it would have that sort of an effect.
Damn.
And also, it would be somebody who would be interesting to conflict with one person that I would have on the team and sort of be an interesting foil to the other, and where he could form sort of a bond with in combat. He would form probably a bond in combat with Aquaman, but he would obviously come into conflict with the Flash I would have on the team of Wally West. A lot of history there.
Slade Wilson, unconventional tactics consultant.
Not to mention, it gives me an excuse to put Slade back in his in the white costume that he wore for Defiance. So,
and I agree, Namor does need to be in the MCU, but I think the rights are like all over the fucking place.
Universal has the rights to him.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's kind of the same thing with like whenever they're gonna have Hulk on screen, they have to run it through Universal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be Slade would sort of be my X factor in it, because I do want to explore his struggle with wanting to be a father and wanting to be an example for his daughter, and trying to turn her away from it, and Bruce taking notice of that. Because the Batman v Deathstroke arc recently in Christopher Priest's book really caught me in this interesting point where you can tell that Slade is torn between the fact that he is such a broken man and he doesn't want to be what he is, but he does it anyway because it's all he seems like he's good at. But he could be a hero. He could be if he wanted to, if he took the time to make the choices that he knows are right, but he knows are harder. And that's one thing that I would actually put on there, is that what Slade has to admit to himself is he is a weak man at his core.
But you would have him commit. You would not have him like turn on the Justice League at all.
I would have him commit, yeah. I would have him in a very, very hard spot every single issue.
I think that in Batman being the one to put him on the team, I think would be really strong.
Yeah.
That's crazy. God, now I want to read that.
So yeah, that would be it. So yeah, that's the sort of stuff that I would love to write. I'd love to write Avengers too. Should we do that? I mean, I already said we'd extend the podcast. So
all right, who's on your Avengers team?
Well, you've got to have your main three. You have to have Cap. You have to have Tony. You have to have Thor.
Yep.
On this one, what I've always wanted to do was toy with the idea of the Avengers as more of a brotherhood organization than really necessarily a team, and there being sort of a support staff. So one person that I would have on the book as one of their key engineers would be, oddly enough, the current Wasp from the Unstoppable Wasp. Her name escapes me. I would have her sort of take the role that her father had back in the day.
The Unstoppable Wasp.
Yes, but she wouldn't really. I wouldn't let Nadia be the Wasp. I would let Nadia be Nadia, if that makes any sense.
So literally just tech support, like Oracle, more or less.
Kind of. But the big thing with her is I've always felt like she was written by Jeremy Whiteley to be this character with this big heart, but because he's so encompassed on this feminist idea of how a hero is supposed to act, that he never allowed her to do it. And when he would allow such things to shine through, they were so momentary. There were these momentary glimpses of a character you could tell he wanted to portray, but his own ideology would not allow him to do so. I would do that. I would have her be sort of a heart of the team, who is basically bringing her back and having her learn about what it means to be a hero. One person I would put on the main team who could also work in sort of a support role, well, two people, would be the Hulk, obviously, and Mockingbird. On the field team, Hawkeye, to bring that dynamic back. Some of you are probably starting to see something here. I'm a big West Coast Avengers fan. Vision, Scarlet Witch, Wonder Man, all coming back, for sure. I'm going to work on Simon specifically and get him out of this fucking pacifist bullshit. Get him back to a point where he has to honestly move forward with himself. Another person that I would move into a support role would be Otto Octavius, the current Superior Octopus.
Oh shit!
To be sort of the head of their tech thing.
Ooh.
Or at least that's a possibility. I thought that would be interesting. Another thing I thought would also be interesting to diverge on Spider-Man is I wanted to experiment on the idea of a Spider-Man family. Spider-Man, Venom, the Scarlet Spider, Kane, Superior Octopus, Jessica Drew, the current Spider-Woman, Gwen is not in their current whatchamacallit, in their current universe, so I couldn't use her, but Miles. And I thought of this idea of what would I do if, or what would it be like if Peter Parker finally said to himself, I want to have a team of people working to basically be Spider-Man for New York so that we can have lives. And that would be something I would do. Because Eddie has largely been reformed. So has
be very
so
different
has
from
Otto.
that family, though.
Yeah, it'd be very different.
Everyone would instantly draw connections between that and Bat family.
Yeah, but it also has a different dynamic because Peter's conflict with every single one of these people, and it's an idea. It would be a book about mending fences. It would be a book about seeing characters start to redeem themselves to the public, where the term Venom is no longer the boogeyman. It's this it's this monster who just protects people at night. He becomes sort of an urban legend in a sense. And then of course you bring back you have both Scarlet Spiders, Ben Reilly and Kane, and in certain capacities and stuff like that. Like that would be something I would be really interested in. Back on the Avengers thing. But that's one thing I would want to do is have kind of like what Hickman did, in the idea that there is this that the Avengers is a branding, not necessarily as just a team. There's always work being done at Avengers headquarters. There's always things that are constantly being brought together to continuously make the team getting better, and come back to the same thought of, we have to get bigger. We have to be something better than what we were. Because there were other things that were in that concept that made sense to me that weren't really done or only experimented with. The idea of Captain America training other people in how to become better heroes and training them in hand-to-hand and things like that. Taking people under his wing. Because one person that I wouldn't mind bringing into the Avengers would be Miles Morales. I would not mind bringing him in and putting him under Cap's wing, like what Cap did with Peter Parker years before.
That would be interesting. So how would you write Miles and Tony Stark then?
I wouldn't have them interact as much.
Not at all.
Yeah, I would much rather have sort of a the thing with Tony on this one is I would actually kind of have him more in the background in regards to, and him sort of being managing the day-to-day of the team of because of course there's the Illuminati going on and things along those lines. So he's sort of he's sort of the public face of the Avengers, dealing with how they interact with the world. Whereas and then you have the private Avengers, what's going on in the tower on a day-to-day basis. But anyway, so let's talk field team, though. I've talked support teams. So the guys you're going to have in the field, obviously Cap, Iron Man, Tony, Hawkeye, Wanda, Vision. I really want to bring Vision back in and write him well. I want to bring back in Wonder Man and write him well. Maybe Rhodey. Maybe. I'm a little hesitant on Rhodey. So let's not say him. No Wolverine.
I don't think Wolverine fits on the Avengers.
No. I'd be tempted to bring back Beast, but I don't think I want to do that either.
Would you bring any of the X-Men?
If there is one X-Man that I would love to be an Avenger at some point who has never been, it would be Jean Grey.
That would be very interesting.
Because you think about it, the characters I would put her around, she hasn't interacted a lot with. But another person I would also bring back onto the team would be Namor.
You would bring Namor back.
What I would want to do is have Cap feel like he needs people around him that he knows he can trust when it comes to combat, when it comes to the field. Namor's known him longer than anybody. So has Thor. So that would be something else. And the final person I would probably bring in would probably be Hyperion.
That'd be very interesting.
Hickman did him really well. I would love to bring back the Bash Brothers feel of Thor and Hyperion again. I would also like to create a bit of a rivalry between Hyperion and Namor. But the big thing that I want for this team to be focused on is stepping out beyond the idea of being Earth only, and being sort of basically taking over what Captain Marvel, because I would probably bring Carol in too, but taking over and working more directly with Sword instead of Shield, if that makes any sense, and doing much more sci-fi stuff, intergalactic stuff. You know, that's the sort of thing I would like to do, because my favorite Avengers stories are things like Hickman's Avengers, but also the Kree-Skrull War, Operation Galactic Storm, things along those lines. Like, those are the type of stuff I really like to do. There's other characters I would love to bring in too. I would love to try Matt Murdock as an Avenger.
Okay, that
would be one that I'd be interested in.
Different.
Or he would be one, because Cap has been trying to get him in on the team for years. Bringing back Iron Fist as an Avenger would be an interesting one, but I'm not sold on it yet. Luke Cage, I think, is kind of forced in the Avengers. He doesn't quite fit. But then again, you could say the same thing of Daredevil.
Monica Rambeau.
I don't know if I'd want to bring in Monica again. I would like to bring in another young hero, though, to
any of the champions, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is another young hero to balance out these people that Cap is taking under his wing and trying to basically bring into adulthood. I'm wondering if I should bring in America Chavez.
Oh, I thought for a second you were going to go with like Nova.
Nova lost his powers recently, though. But
okay, well,
Nova would America would be an interesting one to do. Or
is chat losing their shit?
Yes,
at America Shop.
Yeah, like, no, don't do it. Shoot us on me. What? No. Look at me. I am the Emperor now.
No Riri. No, absolutely not. No.
Actually, you know what?
A villain. She's a villain.
Let's not do that.
Bring in Squirrel Girl.
How about Shuri instead? T'Challa's sister. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got her own book now. I'm down for sure.
I'd take away her extra powers that Ta-Nehisi Coates gave her and make her basically the Black Panther again, or a Black Panther. But I think she would be another really good street level sort of character to bring in, or just bring back T'Challa. Either or.
I think Shuri would be a better fit, honestly. If you're talking about having more youthful heroes.
Yeah.
On the team, I think Shuri would be a good fit, because I can imagine her dynamic with Miles Morales would be like not quite to the level of her and T'Challa, but it would still be like a sibling rivalry nonetheless.
Yeah, I would think so too, but I don't know. It's that I have to think a bit more on it. The big thing though for me is just I want to have a dynamic of two dynamics. One, having a couple of younger heroes on there basically coming into adulthood and realizing how hard it is to be an Avenger. And basically Captain America telling them this is not a game anymore. We're not playing games at this point. This is not easy. Actually, you know what? No. X-23. I would much rather write Laura now that I think about it. Because Lord knows I can do it a lot better than the motherfucker who's writing her now. What's his face?
That'd be interesting too.
She would be much better because she doesn't really want to be an assassin. She doesn't want to be like Wolverine. And I would really like to take her away from that sort of a thing. and Cap would be the perfect guy to do it with her, in a lot of ways. So, yeah, let's do that. Let's go with that instead. With sort of the youth brigade being Laura, Miles, and Nadia. Yeah, that actually works a lot better. That works a lot better. So,
hey Marvel, here's your pitch.
An actual good Avengers comic? Yeah. Actually, no, that's not true. The current Avengers book is actually really good. And final question, Crystal Wing 2149 says, how would I write the Thunderbolts and who would be on my version of the team? Would Venom be on the team? Well, duh. I would actually definitely want to do that. I like the idea of a team. I kind of like the way that Warren Ellis did it, where they were sort of a Suicide Squad thing. I like the idea of redeemed villains, though. Like, that's sort of what I would do, is sort of a mix between the old Kurt Busiek run on the book with Mark Bagley, but also with the way that Warren Ellis did it, sort of a mix between the two, where you actually do have these people who have been recruited by the government who do want to become or get out of the shadow of villainy in a lot of senses. I just don't know, like, outside of Venom, who would be interesting to have on that team. One thing I would definitely do is have Frank Castle be roped into it.
That'd be interesting.
I would basically have a lead up to that be he assassinates a senator who he had evidence was the head of a drug ring. But it's still considered murder because he killed him before the evidence went through. So, and Cap brings him in. And Cap is the one who tells him, you have the chance to get back out and redeem yourself if you join this team. So he has to constantly deal with this idea that there are people around him who have committed crimes that are trying to become better. And he has to think to himself whether or not he really believes that people can be redeemed or not. And whether or not he can truly answer that question. The leader of the team would definitely be the Winter Soldier. I always really liked that idea of Bucky being the head of it. You know?
Yeah, that would, of course, is appropriate. Foil to Captain America leading the Avengers.
Yeah. I would, and for some reason, I always thought a dynamic between Bucky and Eddie Brock would be fun.
It would be. Bucky and God, I think Bucky and Frank would be
really good
interesting too.
Yeah. To give Bucky some backup, another familiar face as trustworthy, I would probably have Widow on that team with him as well. Who are some other villains for Reformation? Sabretooth would be one that comes to mind. Because these days Creed is sort of walking the edge.
What's going on with Kraven right about now?
He's full villain at this point.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Because otherwise he would be a good pick.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to do is have the Sentry on there.
That'd be interesting.
That, I think, is a good pick. I do not want Deadpool.
No Deadpool.
I would like to write Deadpool, but only as a solo book. I would, however, be tempted to bring back Agent X instead. Another person that I would think about being a foil would be the Taskmaster. He would be a good foil.
You put Taskmaster on
villain duty. I would not want him to be part of it, part of the team. Aside from
bring back Toxin.
I don't want to bring back Toxin, oddly enough.
I don't know that two symbiotes
on a team.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't quite work. Trying to think of another character that kind of walks the line that would be really good.
Red Hulk, Songbird, Rhino.
Songbird would be somebody
Harry Osborn, Goblin Slayer.
Oddly enough, Songbird is somebody I would much rather have on an Avengers lineup at this point. I think that she deserves it.
Sandman.
Where's he at these days?
Bring him in.
I don't know.
Bring Flint in.
I do like the Sandman, but I don't know about that one. No. Rhino. Rhino would be fun to have as another bruiser alongside the Sentry. And he's always wanted to reform. He's always hated the situation he's in. Why not do some work with him? I would love to make him sympathetic. I would love to really turn the corner with the Rhino of all characters. That would be really cool. Though I would definitely have him humbled from the start. Have him say something along the lines of him talking smack to Venom, and Venom saying, "You have literally never beaten anybody with a spider on their chest." And then what you see is another panel of Natasha, Frank, Bucky, and Robert Sentry literally taking bets on how long it's going to last. And then the next panel you see is Rhino webbed upside down and Venom just standing there with a giant smile on his face, and Rhino yelling, "Get me down from here!"
All right, I have a crazy idea.
Throw it at me.
Juggernaut.
Well, I kind of wouldn't want to do that for one reason. Chuck Austin tried that with his run on the X-Men, and it didn't really work out very well. Mm-hmm. Because he ended up losing favor with Sidorak, and then during the World War Hulk event, he just came back to it. So, if it hadn't already been tried before, I would definitely think about it, because I do like the idea of Kane being somebody who could reform. But
I did too. I think if you were going to do that, you would have to have lead up with Charles, though. There's no way.
Yeah, definitely. Would Carnage be a villain? Fuck yeah. I would definitely do almost a Maximum Carnage 2 sort of story. I think that would be really cool. Trying to think of who else though. I feel like we're missing something.
Carnage being on a team of the Avengers? No.
No.
There is no redemption for Cletus Cassidy. Period.
Actually, you want to know somebody who I'd be tempted to do? Just to kind of throw in another little X factor. Phantom X. Phantom X would be a really good one. Just as sort of an intel guy. If you've never read Grant Morrison's New X-Men, or Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender, he's a really, really cool character. Phantom X would definitely be one I would consider doing. Oh, it's neighbors being ratchet. But, notice how they turned it off, abruptly? It's because my downstairs neighbor probably went out there going like this, because I called the cops on them from doing that before, late at night. So, alright. Enough. We need to stop. It's been an hour and a half. So, if you do have questions for the Overflow, please go ahead and put them in the chat now. I want to thank Hardboiled Entertainment and Foxhelm for donating today. Thank you so much for that. It really helps me out. So, and I kind of need it these days. So, duly, very much appreciated. And we'll start working on those reviews this week as well. And Hatman hold me to that. So,
yeah. Well, I got to be held to one too. So,
yep. All right, folks. We appreciate you stopping by, though. Hatman, any last words?
I got nothing. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody.
Yep. We'll see you guys next time. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
Dave's Vault.